What's up, everybody? It's your Cosmic Homegirl. I'm just doing a very quick little video for all the newbies that may be coming through that are going to be watching some of the videos that I'm going to do on some celebrity charts and YouTubers charts, just to give you guys an idea of what exactly astrologers look at when we are talking about astrology and people and their personalities and what is going on with them currently. Okay, so for those of you who can see the screen here, hopefully you can see it. This is what's called a natal chart or a birth chart. It is a map of the cosmos, meaning the planets. All these little symbols represent a planet at the time that somebody was born. I have on the screen the lovely Prince's chart. Okay, you know, if you guys follow me, you know he's one of my most favorite people ever. I swear Prince is like one of my soulmates. And so I know his chart very well. We know his personality. We know his work. We know his life very well. This is not going to be a full reading of Prince's chart. I'm just using his as an example of what astrologers look at. So what we do is on a website like this, astro.com, you can go in and actually do this yourself too. Even if you're not an actual astrologer, you can go plug in your birth date, including the year, the birth time, and the birthplace. We need all three of those pieces of information in order to pull up one of these. Okay. Now, if you do not know your birth time or the birth time of whoever's chart you are trying to pull up, it's cool because there's still a lot of information that we can see and that we can be able to, decipher, to decipher, what does all of this represent for a person and their personality. Okay, so after we've got all that info, this is what we do. We pull up this chart. Usually, if you're not like a super nerd or like a student of astrology or a practicing astrologer, a lot of people are like, what is all of this garbage, all this jumbled, these hieroglyphics, honey? I don't know what any of this stuff means. But I will be teaching little classes coming up very soon to go more into detail on all this stuff. But I just wanted to show you guys, this is what we look at when we talk about celebrities and what's going on with them. We look at the whole big picture. For example, Prince, rest his soul, but if he were still here, we would be looking at some things in particular, like, okay, what's going on with him now? The little green planets see how this date right here, this is the date that I'm recording this video, says transits, okay, and it has the date. Well, that means these are the positions of the planets, the green ones, on the date, the current date, or whatever date you decide to pull up. This is where those planets are at, okay? Now, all the ones that are enclosed in this circle are the planets positioned on this birth date and birth time and birthplace, okay? Now, each planet rules a certain part of your life and your personality. So usually people know their sun sign. This is what, if we only knew Prince was born, so block out, the year. We only knew June 7th. Okay, that means he's a Gemini. Okay, so that's the sun. The sun was in Gemini. But what else was going on? What else? Where were all the other planets? Where were they in the zodiac? Where were they at? So this is Mercury. Okay, the little fella with the little ears. Or they could be some devil horns, you know what I'm saying? Mercury could be kind of a mischievous, youthful prankster energy sometimes. But just very briefly, Mercury, this is how we talk, how we speak, how we communicate. Nowadays, it's how we type, how we text, how we email, how we DM people, how we process information that people give to us as well. So Mercury, he has Mercury in Gemini. Okay, so that's what made him an uber Gemini, is he has 2 planets in Gemini. Now, Venus, this little symbol here looks very feminine, and this is actually used in our society as a symbol for a female and, women's restrooms and all that stuff. You see this little big-headed girl, right? So Venus, this is Venus, and we look to where Venus is at for many things. What the person likes, their interests, what makes them happy, how they are in love. And if there's somebody that dates women, what kind of women do they like? And if they are somebody who is feminine or very in touch with their feminine side, which Prince was, even though he was obviously physically a male, This is like, the how they express their femininity. Okay, so we look at Venus for those things. Also, we can look at Venus for love. We can look at it for several other things. And excuse me, he has Venus in Taurus, and so you got to look at the sign that the planet was in, and that'll give the flavor, to their personality. Now, we also look at Mars, this circle with an arrow. This is masculine energy. I mean, it's got a pointy thing on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you could remember Mars, masculine. It's pointy. Okay. So this is masculinity, and we all have Mars somewhere in our chart. So we all have ways that we express masculinity or taking action. How do you take action in life? Do you jump and fly after things that you want and pursue them with passion and fierceness? Or do you procrastinate, kind of wait around? You know what I'm saying? Like, all of that is ruled by Mars. It's also, your levels of physical activity. It's also the way that you fight. It's also sex drive. It can be that too. And if you are a woman, or if you are just a person in general who is interested in masculine people, you're attracted to masculine in others, whatever sign that Mars is in is what kind of masculine energy you are attracted to. Now, Prince, he was in touch with his feminine side. Yes, indeed. But he was a very masculine dude. And how did he express it? Through the sign of Aries. Very competitive, super physically active, physically fit, muscular build. All of that is muscular masculine man is all associated with Aries energy. Okay, so the moon, this is an obvious moon. We see lots of symbols for the moon that look just like this in our society. So moon, what does this represent? Well, the moon, it represents lots of things. It's your emotions. If you notice, even when you see a full moon in the sky, physically you can see it. Don't people just start acting, a little wild, a little crazy, and then we know physically here on planet Earth that the moon pulls the tides of the ocean. It pulls water, and human beings are mostly made up of water. So that's why the moon, it tends to pull the levels of water. And in astrology, we look at the water element as representing emotions. It's very emotional energy. So when we see the moon in a natal chart, this is how a person acts and reacts to things emotionally. How emotionally connected are they to others and to themselves? It's also the inner dialogue that you have with yourself. Yes, everybody has that. No, it doesn't mean everybody's crazy, okay? Or maybe it does mean we're all crazy. But everybody has like the voice in the back of their mind that tells them things and advises them on things. And that voice is said to be, well, the moon can represent your parents, or usually it's mother. Traditionally, it's mother, but it can be anybody who is your nurturing figure, which for some people, it could be their father, their grandmother, their grandfather. You know what I'm saying? It's the things that are passed down to you from your family, from generations, family dynamics, family behaviors, that are passed down, behaviors of the mother, how you were nurtured by your mother, how you nurture others, your home, how comfortable you feel at home, what makes you feel comfortable at home, what makes you feel secure. The moon holds so much freaking value in astrology. Okay, there's so many things that it shows. So Prince, he had a moon in Pisces, so he felt comfortable in his own little sanctuary. He expressed his emotions in a very Pisces way, which at times could be kind of secretive. And, he had a, what's it called? Paisley Park that he built. And it was everything he could ever need and not have to leave the house. Okay. So that's a very Pisces thing, to be in your own world, your own dream world. So that's what made him comfortable. And so that's why we look at the moon to see all of that stuff in astrology. Moving along, well, we also look at Saturn. This symbol right here is Saturn. So Saturn, it can represent many things. It could be someone's work ethic. Saturn represents business. It's also restriction, discipline, punishment. Sometimes Saturn is looked at to look at who, the characteristics of your father. Because Saturn's energy is very fatherly. It can be like rules, implementing the rules and how well you follow the rules. And checking you on the rules that you break and punishment, like I said, so we look at Saturn for many things. And we look at the place that Saturn is at and the sign that Saturn is in to determine where are your biggest lessons, maybe karmic lessons that you have to learn, your biggest difficulties in this lifetime, stuff like that. Now, he had Saturn in Sagittarius. The houses in the chart I'll get to in a second, but the Saturn in Prince's chart is located in a place that rules his money. And he had a lot of lessons that he had to learn about money and allowing others to manage his money and signing bad contracts and deals and stuff. He lost a lot of money. He lost control. Saturn can rule control of his assets, of the rights to his masters, which assets can be seen through this part of the chart that rules money. Okay, so that's Saturn. We also look at Neptune. Neptune is fantasy, illusion, delusion. It's also a very artsy energy. It rules photography, film, music, dancing, painting, anything that gets you lost outside of reality and where you could just float in your own zone. That is Neptune. So he has Neptune in Scorpio, and his ascendant is in Scorpio. So he was very dreamy, a very dreamy person. We look more so to Neptune because it's an outer planet. That means it's one of the furthest away from planet Earth and away from the sun. So therefore, wherever Neptune is at, we got to look at a little bit deeper into it. It's not something that you see in somebody's personality, like really boldly as you would see the planets that are closer to planet Earth, like Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Moon. Those are all what we call the personal planets, okay, that you can see in somebody's personality like that. But the outer planets, Neptune, Jupiter, Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, you don't always see them in a person right away unless they're placed somewhere very significant, which is a little more complicated. So anyway, Jupiter, we look at Jupiter. I call him Rich Uncle Jupiter, okay? Because sometimes Jupiter's energy could be like a happy-go-lucky genie that just grants you wishes and gives you good luck and throws you a little gold coin, so it depends on where it is in your chart and what sign it's in. And it can rule abundance and your ability to see life in a more abundant way, and optimism, and it's the higher mind. And a lot of times Jupiter can show certain people in your chart too, which, that goes a little deep too. So Prince had Jupiter here in Libra. So he, his best luck was through relationships sometimes, or at least that's what he thought, and he has Jupiter in this place in his chart that rules networks and friendships and stuff. So he probably knew a lot of people that he could benefit from. Now, looking at Pluto in someone's chart. Now, Pluto is the furthest away planet from us. So once again, this is something you don't really see directly in people unless it's in a very prominent place, which Prince actually did have Pluto in a super prominent place in his chart, in the part that rules his public image. Pluto, it rules death, sex, destruction, regeneration, transformation, burning. It's represented sometimes by the phoenix bird, burning down to the ashes, okay, down to the ground, and then coming back up out of the ashes, brand new, reborn, fresh, beautiful, wings all spread out and gorgeous, okay. But it's kind of like destruction in order to, like, destroy to rebuild can be Pluto. And Pluto can also rule things that are very dark and controversial. And Prince's public image was very controversial, okay? And didn't he start out coming out on stage in some little panty drawers, only a pair of drawers and some boots, and that was his attire. So I would say that radiated Pluto a lot in his public image and his career. So that's Pluto. That's what we look at. Now, Uranus is one of my favorite planets. Look at Uranus. It looks like a little space station, doesn't it? Like a little space station, an antenna of some sort to channel all kinds of alien messages from outer space. And that's actually the effect that Uranus can give, depending upon, of course, where it is in your chart, what planets it aspects, and all of that nerdy stuff. So we look at this to look at eccentricity. and being very out of the ordinary, very, very original, being a weirdo, being kind of alien like yourself, you know? And also we can see through Uranus extreme ups and downs, like instability, like one day this is happening and the next moment this is happening and then it changes back and changes back. That's all Uranus's energy, very erratic and sporadic. Okay. So, and this can show people when it's in a prominent place in their chart who are very, very much out there. They're very against the norm, against society. They are against everything that is part of like social constructs that we are all expected to follow and fall into. Anybody that says, I don't want to fall into a box, I want to do my own thing, I want to be me and just be authentic to me, you got to look for where Uranus is at in their chart, okay? Because they more than likely have it in a significant place that can show that they really radiate that energy out there very strongly, okay? So this is the weirdo planet. And so that's Uranus. Now, another thing about Neptune that I forgot to mention, look at the symbol. Doesn't it look like a little antenna? Now, Neptune, it's a psychic planet too. So people who have it in a significant place in their chart, they could be very psychic, very intuitive. It's like they get messages channeled to them from the spirit realm, from, you know, the other side and everything. So people who have this planet in a significant place, they could be very intuitive. They can be people who are mediums, angel readers, people who they talk to spirits and all that stuff, which I know a lot of people say, oh my God, that's evil, that's the devil. Listen, some people are born with that ability and they just got to know how to fine tune it and you know, utilize it in a positive way. I'll get into that another day, but yeah, Neptune, look at it, looks like an antenna, and that's exactly what it acts like too, is an antenna channeling some messages from outer space. So if somebody has Neptune in a significant place, they can be kind of like alien like, and they seem like they're from another world, and they're kind of spacey too, you know. They act like they're from another planet, or their mind is always off elsewhere, but they can be real, they could suck at doing life, practical life, but they could be really good at doing things like art, you know, music, dance. That's where they really have strong points if they have this somewhere significant. And Prince does have it in a place to where that was him. It's not like he couldn't really do life, quote unquote, like practical life that well. But when it came to his artistry, man, oof, he was a beast. And this is part of the reason why. So now, lastly, this is like, it looks like a pie or a pizza and it's sliced up, right? So what astrologers look at is each slice of this pizza rules a certain area of your life and characteristics, just like the planets do. So there's layers upon layers upon layers that we look at when we look at a person from an astrological point of view. So like I said, each one of these rules a part of your life. And if there's a planet in that, and we call these the houses. So when we talk about the houses, this is what we mean. So, you know, the first house, this is your appearance. This is how people view you upon first meeting you, what energy you give off to them. Okay. And it starts with the ascendant, AC, that stands for ascendant. So this is like everybody's first impression of you. It's a big part in what you look like, how people see you, you know, is the ascendant. So in Prince's case, he has a Scorpio ascendant, just like me. Oh, no wonder we're twins. Oh my God. No, so Prince has a Scorpio ascendant. So if you look at him, yeah, he's a Gemini, but you can totally tell he's got a heavy Scorpio influence, and that comes from the rising. Now, you will not know someone's rising or any of these slices, how they're divided up, any of these houses, unless you have a birth time. If you don't have a birth time for somebody, you know, unless you are a pro astrologer, you're good at rectifying charts, which means like figuring out their birth time. You won't know. Or if you're an intuitive astrologer like myself and a couple of my peers, we're very intuitive and we just have a knack for picking up on someone's ascendant. And then we kind of like plug in different times. We play with the chart a little bit until we get something that really fits them and is in the ballpark, of what their birth time more than likely is. So, yeah, so this is your ascendant, your personality, the way that it shines out to others. This plays a big part, your appearance and everything. And the second house, this is money you earn like through punching a clock every day, whatever work you actually put in, the money that you receive from it. It's how you handle your money. It's how you value things in the material world. That's all this second house. Third house is communication. It plays a role also in how you communicate as well as Mercury. So there's a couple different things we look at for communication. Okay. Fourth house, this is your early childhood and your upbringing and your roots, your memories of your early life. That's what this represents. Any planets in here, like Prince has the moon here. So he's very comfortable. This is why he stayed in his hometown, because the fourth house can rule your childhood memories. And he stayed in his childhood home and city. Not the actual physical home, but, the city that's why he never really left Minnesota. He was plugged in because his moon is plugged into the place that rules that in his natal chart. Now, the fifth house, it could be children, it could be children. It can be like romantically what you're attracted to, who you're attracted to, what kind of dates you like to go on, what you find fun. It can also mean your creative talents are found in here too. And, Prince, he has, he's got some Aries up in here, which means his creative talents were very physical. Some of them were very physical, like his dancing and all that. It was so sick. Okay. So he had a really big talent in that. So yeah, we see creative talents. We can see things about your kids too, when we dive really deep into astrology with this. Sixth house, this is work and health. Okay. So what kind of job you like, what kind of job you are talented at, like what kind of skills you have. It's also like how you are with your routines. It's also your habits. It's also your dietary habits, and your health in itself. Okay. Now, seventh house, or DSC. Sometimes you see it in a chart. Descendant. It's your relationships, who you're attracted to, or what kind of qualities of a partner you're attracted to. And sometimes it's like, it's your shadow side, it's the opposite of your ascendant. So when we talk about relationships with celebrities here on this channel, and I say the opposite sign, or their seventh house, or their descendant, this is what we mean. So in Prince's case, he has the relationship part of his chart in Taurus. So he was attracted to Taurus type of women. That doesn't mean that every woman he dates has to be a Taurus, that she has to be a Taurus sun sign or have planets in Taurus. It would help, but they can just display the characteristics of Taurus, like Taurus is into beauty and fashion, and can be very calm in nature, but it's loves all the beautiful things of life. Okay. So he really liked a woman with a Taurus type of a personality, somewhere within her traits. Now, the eighth house, this is intimacy. This is being very secretive and private a lot of times, is the eighth house. It's also money that you can receive from other people, and so on. So Prince has his sun in here. So this is another reason why he was kind of secretive and private about his private life, and he didn't want anybody to let anything about his private life out there, because his sun was in the eighth house. Okay. Now, the ninth house, this can mean schooling, your sense of faith and optimism is also the ninth house, and your ability to see life in like there will be a brighter day, we'll get through this. It's also people's religions and their belief systems. That means political beliefs and what they stand for, and all that stuff can be found here in the ninth house. A lot of people have planets here. They tend to be very adventurous people. Okay. Some of them are really into like religion and politics and stuff too, or they like to travel a lot or read a lot of books. They value school, stuff like that. Now, the MC, this is the point in the chart that rules your career and your public image. And it's the beginning of the 10th house. Now, when we talk about 10th house, we talk about people who can be very disciplined, very strict. They could be very authoritarian in nature. We talk about people who have some really dope cheekbones, okay, which I'll get more deeper into in another video. But, this is like the 10th house. Saturn, and Capricorn. They're all related in what they represent, and they rule the bone structure, you know. So people who have planets here, they tend to have like a really nice bone structure. Anyhow, it rules your career, your public image, and how people see you out in the public, your public persona, which can be different from your in-person persona, which is seen by the ascendant and is seen by the sun, you know. So, you know, people who have planets up here, they're usually very career oriented, and they have a presence of somebody who is an authoritarian, or they end up in the military, stuff like that. Now, 11th house, this is friends and networks of people, and having the homie hookup, I call the 11th house. Now, people who have planets in here, and they radiate through their personality, you know, through the 11th house energy, they tend to be very unique people. They don't like for others to copy them. They like to come up with original ideas. They are usually very good with technology, very good with the internet, and they have a lot of friends. Or they'll have friends of all different kinds from all over the place. They're very very outside the box thinkers, and people who like to be very unique in their looks or in their interests. You know, they could be like the hipsters are found here in the 11th house. Okay, now finally the 12th house, this is an area of the chart, could be very private and secretive as well. So if people have, like, say, if Prince had the sun here, oh man, who knows if he would have even been an artist. You know, it could have amplified his artistic abilities, because we can find those here in this area of the chart. But he probably would have been even more shy, like super duper shy. But anyhow, the 12th house, they call it the house of undoings, the house of unraveling, and also tying up loose ends, you know, is the 12th house. So a lot of people who have planets here, they maybe hide from the spotlight, you know, because look at this, the first one, this is like, this is me, this is who I am. You know, if people have planets in here, especially, they're very me, I, where I come from, my people, what I represent, me. But if you're in the place before that, it's like, oh, you know, you kind of give your shine away to others, and you hide out, and you don't really like to, you're very low key. I noticed that a lot of people who say low key a lot, they have planets in the 12th house. They have 12th house energy, or maybe 8th house, or the sign of Scorpio, or the sign of Pisces, or Cancer. You know, they're like, oh, they say low key a lot. So anyway, and then one of the last things that we look at, you guys, is we look at how the planets angle each other. Okay, we look at how the planets angle each other and how they communicate with one another, and it's pretty much like mathematical equations. I'm not going to get too deep into it because people are probably already lost, but you know, it just goes to show that astrology is super complex. So for example, if I say that I have been watching a celebrity's interviews and I don't know their birth time, but I am getting I'm getting Capricorn energy from them, right? But they don't have the sun in Capricorn. Where would it be coming from? Well, I would look to the ruling planet of Capricorn, which that's a whole other layer, which is Saturn. Maybe they have Saturn in the first house, or maybe Saturn aspects their sun, like Prince has, you know, in some kind of way. Or I say, oh, I get some Cancer energy from Prince somewhere. Does Prince have any planets in Cancer? No, he doesn't. Where would that come from? Well, I would look to the ruling planet of Cancer, which is the moon. Okay, because the moon can give the same characteristics as the sign it rules. So okay, his moon is here, and this is in the 4th house, which is a little more complicated. It does give off represent similar things as Cancer and the moon. So because of that, that's where I get the Cancerian qualities that Prince vibrates and radiates, you know. So this is why, you know, look, I've sometimes I forget that people do not speak this language and know how to read all of this stuff, and I'll just comment. I'll just be really into a video about like a celebrity or something, and I'll just comment, oh yeah, it's because they have, you know, he has Mars in Aries, that's why blah 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 blah. And then somebody will respond, oh my God, he's not an Aries, he's a Gemini. And I'm like, yo, facepalm. Oh my God. Not everybody understands the complexity of astrology and everything that we look at. And look, I said this was going to be a brief video and I went all in, okay? But I really, believe it or not, I only scratched the surface. There is so much more. So first things first, I would advise anybody, if they want to dive deep into this stuff, first learn the signs, okay? It's easy to learn the signs, the characteristics of the sign itself. Okay, the sign itself. Get rid of all of your thoughts of, oh, well, my cousin is an Aquarius, but I just read up on Aquarius and nothing that it said matches her. We're talking about just isolate the signs. Read up on the signs. The signs, the energy they give off, the characteristics, what they represent. Bam. Okay, move on. Now, then after that, move on to what planet rules each sign. And then you associate that with the characteristics of the sign. Like, put the two together. So if we are talking about moon, we're also talking about Cancer, because the moon rules Cancer. Okay, so if I say I pick up on Cancer energy from so-and-so celebrity, and then they don't have any planets in Cancer at all, they don't even have a rising sign in Cancer. Okay, then where is it coming from? Well, maybe their moon is right here in the first house, which rules the energy that everybody can read from them right off the bat when they see them or meet them. Okay, and so they have the ruling planet of Cancer in their house of the public, or not the public, the first impression, and what energy they give off right away. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to show you guys as a little beginner thing. And I know some people will still be confused, but it's all good. But I'm just showing this before I start diving more deeply into celebrity charts and posting them up, because I don't care about your little arguments if you only know somebody is a sun sign in something. Because I look at things in a more complex and deep way. And so if you don't understand that, it doesn't mean that I am wrong, or anybody else who says this stuff, who practices astrology or studies it, is wrong and you're right. It means there's so many other things that can give off a certain quality, a certain energy, a certain personality trait that somebody is vibrating. We're picking up on it because we could be picking up something else that you wouldn't know unless you pulled up their exact birth date, including the year, their birth time, and the birthplace. Okay, so that's it, you guys. And if you have any questions, of course, you can drop them below in the comments. You can email me at cosmichomegirl@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on there these days with a lot of astrological info and celebrity and YouTuber stuff. And don't forget to follow me on Anchor and Spotify on my podcast, which is also under Cosmic Homegirl. You can search for me on those platforms too under my name. My Instagram is cosmic_homegirl. Okay. And everything else is just Cosmic Homegirl. All right. So until next time, until my next video or podcast or whatever, I will see you guys later. All right. Peace.